There are many tracks across the Mario Kart series, and obviously with there being so many tracks, there are going to be some that the community like more than others. With this in mind, today I wanted to take Not Yoshi 2's video idea, where they say I should make a video going over the most overrated tracks in the Mario Kart series. And with this being a comment on my last ranking video, I'm going to guess that they also want me to rank these overrated tracks. With that in mind though, the question is, what are the most overrated tracks in every single Mario Kart game? Because in order to rank these overrated tracks, I gotta first come up with a list of the most overrated tracks from every single Mario Kart game. With that in mind, today I'm going to be going over the entire mainline Mario Kart series from Super Mario Kart to Mario Kart Tour, which I know is now not confirmed as mainline, but I'm going to include it here anyways, and go over what I feel are the most overrated tracks from each of their games. With that being said, I'm the biggest nub on YouTube, Christendo, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like it and subscribe to the channel as it helps me out a ton. Last video, we got a total of 19 new subscribers to the channel, so let's see if we can top that with this one. While you're at it, if you want to talk to me and others about all things Nintendo, consider joining the Discord server. The link is down in the description. Now obviously, we're going to be going in chronological order based on when the games were released, so the first game we're going to be talking about is Super Mario Kart. And when it comes to this game, there's not really a lot of tracks I could think of that the community really like, but the two that I consider as the most overrated ones from this game are Mario Circuit 3 and Rainbow Road. Both of these tracks have appeared many times throughout the Mario Kart series, so while I don't see it as overrated in the eyes of the fans, I see it as overrated as a Nintendo really likes these tracks, but the one I chose out of these two is Mario Circuit 3. At this point, this track has appeared in more games than any other track in the series, especially with it coming back in Mario Kart World. So because of that, and I feel like that a lot of people like this track because it was also in Mario Kart Wii, which just makes it a fan favorite track, I feel, from Super Mario Kart, Mario Circuit 3 is the most overrated track from Super Mario Kart. Moving into Mario Kart 64 now, my two picks for the most overrated tracks are Rainbow Road and Choco Mountain. When it comes to Rainbow Road, a lot of people are really nostalgic for this one because of the music, and while this track isn't super interesting, it's also iconic because of it being an insane length, taking over 6 minutes to beat. And in the case of Choco Mountain, I just feel like that it's kind of overrated because just like Mario Circuit 3 and Rainbow Road from Super Mario Kart, this track just keeps coming back for no reason. However, surprisingly, I didn't choose Choco Mountain as the most overrated track here, as instead I chose Rainbow Road because at the end of the day, I feel like that this track is more overrated than Choco Mountain because while it hasn't appeared in as many games as Choco Mountain has, people are always going on and on about how great of a track it is when at the end of the day, it really isn't super great, at least in the original version. The Mario Kart 8 version though is pretty good. Anyways, moving on to Mario Kart Super Circuit now, we once again have two contenders being Sunset Wilds and Sky Garden. When it comes to Sunset Wilds, a lot of people really like this track because at the time, and even to this point until Mario Kart World releases, this is the only track that has a different skybox based on what lap you're on, where as you continue with the race, the sun sets more and more. And in the case of Sky Garden, people really like the music of this track. I think it's one of the most memorable tracks from Mario Kart Super Circuit, and it was also in Mario Kart DS, which a lot of people grew up with. But for the most overrated track in Super Circuit, I think it goes to Sunset Wilds because a lot of people hype it up for the fact that it has that setting sun, which doesn't appear in the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version, funnily enough. And outside of that, it's not a super interesting track. It's just a desert track, which, don't get me wrong, doesn't make it bad by its own, but it's really barren, it doesn't have much going for it, and the only thing that people like about it is the setting sun. If you can't say that a track is good because of its layout and it's just because of a gimmick of the track, is it really a good track? Probably not. Next up is Mario Kart Double Dash, and we actually have a good number of candidates here, as we have 4, being Baby Park, Waluigi Stadium, Yoshi Circuit, and DK Mountain. I think that all these are fan favorite tracks from Mario Kart Double Dash for one reason or another, but the one I chose as the most overrated one is Baby Park, because in all honesty, the only time that this track was really good was in the original. People say it's great in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because people choose it all the time in online, and I'm so sick of it. And if you look at the layout, it's literally just an oval. And if you've played Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you know that people go crazy for the oval tracks. I get that people like this track because it adds a lot of chaos to the track, and that's kind of the fun part of Mario Kart is all that randomness. But at the same time, when the only thing that this track has going for it is the random chaos of items being thrown around, and people only love it for the crazy item bouncing and not for the track layout itself, that's how you know it's an overrated track. Much like Double Dash, Mario Kart DS has a good number of candidates as well, as for this game, I chose Luigi's Mansion, Delfino Square, Waluigi Pinball, and Airship Fortress. as once again, these are all fan favorite tracks in the game. However, I think it comes to no one's surprise that the most overrated track from this game is of course Waluigi Pinball, because this track just has a theming that we haven't ever seen in the entire Mario Kart series, and because of that, people absolutely love it. You only really spend a couple seconds on the pinball table itself, and most of it is just the ride down to it, which doesn't have any shortcuts or anything, making it not as great of a track as it could be. But you gotta admit, it is a pretty sick track theme, and for that reason a lot of people like it, but I do feel like that while I do like this track a good bit, it still is a bit overrated. When it comes to Mario Kart Wii, honestly, you could say that most of the Nitro tracks are overrated in their own right, but the ones I nominated here are Mushroom Gorge, Coconut Mall, and Maple Treeway, because I feel like that those are the ones that people talk about the most. And just like Mario Kart DS's pick, I think it comes to no one's surprise that Mario Kart Wii's most overrated track is Coconut Mall. Much like Waluigi Pinball, it has a really unique theme that we haven't ever seen in the Mario Kart series, so people love it for that, and it also just has a really fun design. And obviously Nintendo knows that people like this track, because when they introduced the Booster Course Pass, the song for this track was the first one that played. I should have mentioned this earlier in the video, that just because a track is overrated doesn't mean it's bad, because if a track is overrated and a lot of people like it, it's because it's a good track, and in the sake of Coconut Mall, there's no exception. This track is just great. Moving on to the awkward middle child of the Mario Kart series, Mario Kart 7, the tracks I feel that are overrated from this game are Music Park, Woohoo Loop, Maka Woohoo, and Rainbow Road. Obviously, people have nostalgia for Wii Sports Resort, which is why they really like the Woohoo Loop tracks or the Woohoo Island tracks, and I totally get it. These are pretty well designed tracks that are a lot of fun to play. And in the case of Music Park, it's also a unique theme. It's a pretty fun track all around, and that's why a lot of people like it. But the one that I chose as the most overrated track, and probably the track that people like the most from this game, Rainbow Road, is the most overrated track from Mario Kart 7. But this track is overrated for a reason. It has such a good layout. It's the most unique Rainbow Road to this point, where it has you driving basically through the entire solar system, which is really sick. And like, the music of it is just phenomenal. And the design of it is also phenomenal. You've heard the story before, this one isn't just a track, it's a journey. And even though I do think that this track is a bit overrated, I still love it at the end of the day. When it comes to Mario Kart 8, the entire Star Cup I feel is overrated, because this is just such a great cup in a Mario Kart game, where we have Sunshine Airport, Dolphin Shoals, Electrodrome, and Mount Wario. But on top of those 4 tracks, I also added one of the DLC tracks from Mario Kart 8, being Excite Bike Arena. I don't know what it is about this track, but a lot of people select it online, and for that reason I think it's overrated. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to pick it as the most overrated track as much as I wanted to, because I hate this track. I think it's the most overrated thing ever. But I think that objectively, the most overrated track in this game is Electrodrome. People love it because of its disco theme, and when compared to other tracks, it looks really unique. And don't get me wrong, I think it has a pretty fun theme. It's quite a vibe to drive through, but at the same time, the track layout isn't the greatest thing ever. It's not bad, but if I look at it compared to other tracks that are even in Mario Kart 8's base game alone, I think that this track is a little bit overrated. It's still a great track though, but I do think that people hype it up a little too much. And for our final game, we have the officially non-mainline Mario Kart game, Mario Kart Tour. And when it comes to the selection I chose here, I chose a little bit of a mixture of the Nitro tracks and the city tracks. And my picks were Ninja Hideaway, Vancouver Velocity, Athens Dash, Singapore Speedway, and Squeaky Clean Sprint. And when it comes to choosing the winners, I actually gave one from each of the categories, with the winner of the most overrated city track being Vancouver Velocity. I really don't know what it is about this one. It could have been that the music was pretty good, because don't get me wrong, it has a great song, or when it came out, it was one of the more interesting city tracks, but after playing it in Mario Kart Tour and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I don't really get the hype around this one. It's a fine enough track, but I don't think it's super interesting. As for the most overrated Nitro track from Mario Kart Tour, I think it's pretty obvious that it's Squeaky Clean Sprint, because I mean, you're driving through a bathroom. This is like one of the most random ideas for a Mario Kart track, and people absolutely loved it. And it was a fun track on top of that. It was really well designed. I loved all the split paths in it, and much like Rainbow Road from Mario Kart 7, even though I think that this one is a tad bit overrated, it's a really good track regardless. And with that, those are what I think are the most overrated tracks from every single Mario Kart game. Obviously, because Mario Kart World isn't out yet, I'm not able to cover that game yet. But with that in mind, let me know what you think are the most overrated tracks from each of the games. That's all I really have for this video though, but if you want to see another video by me, there's a video on screen now where I rank all the most forgotten tracks from every Mario Kart game, and I think you'll enjoy that one. With that being said, I'm the biggest nub on YouTube, Cristando, signing off, and as always, goodbye, Nub Nation.